Hello guys, welcome to another video of Music Talk with Ad-Rian. And today's episode, I want to talk about how negativity can weaken your creativity. And for everyone that's new here on the block, this channel is all about real live-through experience that I would like to share with you in order to help you navigate through a professional career in music business. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. And with that being said, I want to dive right into it after a short intro. So as an artist, it's most likely that you belong to the high sensitive people or that you're a high sensitive person. And, that high sensitivity is a part of your gift. It enables you to do what you're doing on a very high level because, in order to really touch the soul of your audience on a deeper level, you got to be able to sense all these different feelings in a room, all these different frequencies that are in a room. When you go out there, when you hit that stage, that's one of the core elements that really enables you to touch the people emotionally. So that's a really good thing. That's really a gift that you can be proud of. And there's also some challenges, though, that we face as high sensitive people. Dealing with other people, it can be a challenge if you're like really sensitive. And I'm not really necessarily talking about people that are totally behind you anyway, and are maybe your fans or just people supporting you on a wider scale. I'm like more talking like of the challenge when you meet people or when you have to deal with people in business that are maybe not so good as far as what they do to your energy. And I always call this the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the thing is that if you're dealing with somebody that might be more of like an energy draining person, the chances are very good that in the very beginning you don't really spot that from the very beginning. It could be that you get into a relationship or into a business with somebody where in the first moment you think, okay, that looks and feels very positive, but it could really take a turn very fast. And as soon as you turn your back on that person might stab you in the back. Or maybe it's not even that obvious. Maybe it's just something that happens like really slow, like there's just something in the relationship that is really energy draining to you. So, one thing to really stay stable in difficult relationships is if you know your values. If you know your values and if you really stick to them, that is like an anchor for you when you're out there doing business, when you're dealing with people. It really helps you to stay grounded when you face difficult situations and difficult relationships, and there's no really way around it, because you're going to meet a lot of people. And, especially like I said, if you move away from your fans or from your personal supporters, if you dive into business a little on a deeper scale, it's probably very hard to avoid that you're not at one or the other point will run into somebody that is pulling more energy out of you than actually putting into you and your project. So staying grounded, knowing your core values and really sticking to them can really help you navigate and stay stable, keep that stability in difficult relationships as you move along in your career. Now, to give you an idea of how energy draining people might react or what kind of situations you might run into when we're talking about negativity that can affect you or affect your creativity. First of all, there's the envious people. There's a lot of people out there that might be like, they might have like a strange kind of jealousy of what you're doing. And these people, they can like really look into your eyes straight ahead and, tell you how great you are and how much they admire what you're doing. But there's something like really strange, like a sort of jealousy within them. And, that could really cause some negative effect on you, because these are people, a lot of times you can't really trust them, because as soon as you're not dealing directly with them, like behind your back, they might talk in a totally different way than they're talking when they're talking directly with you. So there's something really untrue in that whole situation, which can really have a negative effect if you're really sensitive to situations, in relationships, dealing with people. Now, the second thing I want to kind of like point out, which is something that is really common in music business, is the culture of not responding. Now, I guess everybody that's in music business, everybody that's playing in a band, trying to book a gig or, trying to get some stuff going, knows this kind of culture. It's like the situation is like you try to, for example, book a gig or get in touch with an agency or whatever. Um, you put out energy, you're writing a mail, you're trying to call these people, you're putting together a promotion package, you're putting all this energy into presenting your project, sending it out to a possible business partner, and you will never get a response. Okay, this is so common, and this really can have a very negative effect on you. Maybe not like from the very beginning on, but as you move along, this can really drain your thoughts, because your subconscious is constantly waiting for a response. You're sending something out, and obviously, you know, um, nothing comes back. And before you really realize that this person will not respond to you, you first go through a phase from like every day, you think like, oh, maybe today he's going to respond, he's going to give me a feedback whatsoever. And it just never happens, So in the beginning, you're still like in this state of being hopeful. And as more time goes by, you get kind of like frustrated inside. Maybe you don't even realize it from the very beginning, but it just fucks with your mind in a way, because usually, as people, for us, it's so normal, like going into a conversation and getting some input out there. Or if you're like starting a conversation with somebody, it's so common that the person that is standing in front of you responds to what you're saying. And in music business, this is totally common that you send something out and you will never get a response, or you try to call somebody and you can just not get a hold of him, or you can get a hold of him and this person tells you, I'm going to call you back, and he is never going to call you back. You just never get that answer you're kind of looking for. So that can be really, that can really get on your nerves. So you got to kind of like look out for that. Now, a third thing is, which is, in my opinion, very dangerous if you have to deal, or if you're dealing with manipulative people, if they manipulate you on a deeper scale. That could be like you're presenting a song or you're presenting some kind of piece of art, to somebody, and you put all your heart and soul into it. And first response you get is, oh, that's great, and I love it, and so on and so on. But as you talk about it, there will always be something that can be even a little better, or it can even, it's good, but, this could be, if this would be like this, it would be even better. And it kind of like undermines your work and the creativity you put into this work. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing against like a creative critique, if it's really constructive, that can be a very good thing. But if you get feedbacks that kind of like undermine your core thought that you put into your work, so you really have to be looking out for that, and it's kind of like sometimes it's not so easy to spot that from the very beginning on, but it gets to a point, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel like a constructive critique, be careful about it. Now, the fourth thing I want to point out is the abuse of power. That's a big one. In my opinion, that's a really big one, because in music business, we are always looking at very different levels of power. For artists, dealing in the music business, you kind of like, you have your band, you have your songs, you have your creativity, you put all that heart and soul into it. And obviously you're always looking for that next chance. You're always looking for the next door to open. So that puts you in a situation where you're like, you're constantly on the watch and you're constantly trying to use your sensitivity to spot a chance or a momentum that you can pick up that can bring you to the next level. Now, in music business, there's a lot of people that are in very powerful positions in the way that they can really open doors. They can really like get you in a different situation or bring you in contact with people that you really need in order to push your career forward, you know. And there is something between this relationship which is very unhealthy and that sadly gets abused a lot of times, you know, because whenever you have a situation where somebody's like really eager to move on in their career and like really hopes to get like maybe some doors that open or some platforms where they can present their artwork, you know. And on the other hand, you have like a industry, you know, which is a lot of times also very arrogant in the way that they, you know, they deal with people, you know, that can really cause, you know, some serious mental problems if you don't really pay attention and if you don't really stay true to yourself. And if you get into that abusive relationship too much, that can really have a big, big negative impact on you. Okay. Now, you always gotta keep in mind that as an artist, you can only perform on a above average level if you're mentally at your best. So for this reason, it's really important to kind of like learn to sense where negativity lies, in which situations, where are you running into situations where there's some kind of negative energy that could really drain you mentally, and really learn to avoid these situations. And if you have the challenge that you can't really avoid it because you're already in it, like I said in the beginning of the video, really stick to your values. Okay. Don't sell yourself out. You know, good things will come to you. And sometimes the harder we try, the less it's going to happen. So I think it takes a good balance, on the one hand, to like stay focused and also stay out there and trying to like really try to recognize and feel when a momentum is here, when a situation is here, where you want to like say, this is the moment I'm going to take this chance and I'm going to go all in. That's important. But on the other hand, if it doesn't feel right, I was saying that before, stay away from it because something else will come to you when the time is right. So I want to round this video off with some final thoughts. Always stay mindful. You know, don't judge yourself only upon physical work. Don't underestimate the time and the work you put in, what comes from your mind. Your brain is really a powerhouse, which can enable you to pure greatness. And, you know, it's, when it comes to your work as a musician, it's, you know, when you sit down and you start writing a song, if you start to rehearse, that's the physical part. But before you can actually start to make music, there has to be an idea. There's always the mind involved before you actually start your physical work. So, you know, always take care of your mind, take care of your thoughts, you know, kind of like try to get into a certain flow. Put the thoughts into subjects as long as you really feel you can make some progress with certain thoughts. No problem with that. But don't lose yourself in thoughts, because thoughts can also have something very negative, something draining in your mind. Because at some point when you put enough thoughts into something, you know, you just kind of like let yourself go and allow yourself to get in that flow. And it's the same thing when you're dealing with people, when you're dealing with relationships. You know, it's always good to put some thoughts in. It's always good to stay focused and to really try to reach out for that next chance. But if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. At some point, you just got to allow yourself to just let yourself fall into a situation, and you know, don't get too possessed with a goal. You know, stay focused, have your goals in front of you, but also keep a certain coolness and keep your values. Stay mindful and just take care of your mental state and your mind. And as long as you do that, you are artistically all set for a great career. So I hope this video has helped you maybe today, maybe in the future. If you haven't done so already, and if you liked the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps the channel grow. And I'm really looking forward to talk to you again. Till next time, take care, stay creative. Bye-bye.